Hi, everybody. Tim Dwyer here. Guys, I don't know how long we're going to have to fight this bunch of lunatics. I am sick and tired of people saying that, you know, this is for your protection, my protection. It's not. This Frankenshot that they've got going out there at the moment is the most despicable, evil, wicked thing I've ever seen. And the minds of whoever came up with it, those people are seriously criminally insane. And I believe that the people who are administering it here in Australia and around the world are also criminally insane and must be held accountable for it. Any doctor that has administered one of those Frankenshots, which alters the DNA, which sheds and then affects the person who received it, and we've seen thousands of cases of that happening, these people are criminals. There is no other way for it. They are murderous dogs. They are just murderous dogs. They are killing more people than any world war ever has in the past. And we've seen this firsthand in our own experience. What I want to do today is we want to try and find a peaceful resolution to this. You know, when governments refuse a peaceful resolution, they then bring about a violent resolution to the problems. And I really don't want, let me try and change this light factor here a bit. No, that's not going to work. I really do not want to resort into violence. That's just not the way to do things. Although the government seem okay with it, the police seem to really relish in doing a good bit of head bashing and, you know, gut kicking and driving their boots into people. They love it, right? The cops love it. And don't tell me not all cops are bad cops, because all cops are either bad or silent, which makes them all bad. The government, which you think is government, I want to share something with you at the moment, which will be groundbreaking. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Canada, or America, or Australia, New Zealand. It doesn't matter whether you're in the UK. It doesn't matter. I think this will absolutely rock your world. So stick with this. Don't switch off this video until you've seen what I'm going to show you. This is going to absolutely rock your world and it's going to rock their world. Let me share something with you here for a second. Let me bring this up. Get that up there and get that opened up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this document, this relates to Australia. What I'm going to get to in a minute will relate around the world. This is the letters patent of Australia. The Queen Mother, or the Queen Victoria, had this document drawn up so as that it would open the office of the Governor General. The Governor General was to be her representative in Australia. We all know this. And through this document, he had authority on behalf of the Crown. He was the Queen's representative. One of his roles was to swear in a legitimate government. So that document gave legitimacy to the government. You got to understand that this is really, really, really vital. It was that document that gave legitimacy not only to the Parliament, but it gave legitimacy to the judiciary. This document, right? Now, I wrote to the National Archives some time ago and asked about the original letters patent that formed the office of the Governor General. And this is the response I've got. So this is from the National Archives of Australia. The reference number is there. You can check it all out. This is no BS. This is right down the line. Thank you for your inquiry. Queen Victoria's letters patent establishing the office of the Governor General of the Commonwealth of Australia can be found on the website of the Museum's Australian Democracy. The document was kept in the office of the Governor General until transferred to the National Archives in 1977. William Edwards, Reference Officer, National Reference Service. The only time you put something into the archives is when it is no longer part of service. It is not in action. It's not valid anymore. So in 1977, those who would be king, I guess, took the letters patent out of the office. Therefore, the office of the Governor General no longer has legitimacy because it does not have a legitimate letters patent behind it. It has a letters patent, but it was drawn up by some muppet. The judiciary, every judge from the High Court down to your bombastic little magistrates, have no legitimacy. They have no legal standing. And I'm going to show you some documents here in a second that will rock your world. So stay with this. Do not walk away from this video just yet. This is going to blow your mind. There are some maxims at law here I want to talk about. All are equal under the law, not their law, the law. A matter must be expressed to be resolved. Claims made without accountability are void, right? That's very important because they can't make a claim against you because they're not accountable. Oh, interesting stuff. Okay, might does not make it right. Tell the cops that. They love the might. They love the ability to give people a good flogging. They love the ability to walk in and shut people down over all this con virus stuff. This is their delight. And don't tell me they're not all bad. Those who aren't involved in that are silent. And they're silent means that they agree with the processes of those who are sticking their boots in. I do not have respect anymore. I've lost it. It's gone. So respect has to be earned, not made to be given. Force, perjury, or subordination of perjury voids all. Fraud violates the most solemn promise. The government can promise you anything they like, but because they are fraudulent, everything they say is just, it's false. It voids all, right? It violates the promise. Whilst the battle continue, he who leaves the field first or refuses to contend loses by default. We've got a lot of government officials who have refused to engage in the debate by the letters sent, the demands sent, the notices sent, the affidavits sent. They have refused to engage in the battle. Therefore, the maximum law says they have lost by default. And you are free to make any decisions you wish. That's you and I. But you are never free to escape the consequences of your decisions. Every doctor out there given this Franken jab, you are not free from the consequence of that decision. Every politician and health official, you are not free. We will catch up with you. We will bring this whole crap fest to a halt. The foundations of law, there's three basics of law. There are basically three classes of law. The laws of God, which encompasses the laws of nature. The sun rises in the morning and sets in the evening, right? It comes up in the east and sets in the west. These are laws of God. And one of the laws of God, which we'll get to in a minute, is he gave man dominion over all the earth. The second law is the law of the land, which has been circumnavigated to the law of the sea, but that's a conversation for another day. It also referred as common law, right? So we have common law on the land, but they've tried to get us into the sea. And lastly, the weakest form of law, private law or man-made law, also referred to as contract law. And that's where we need to have a look. This is going to get exciting. Clearfield Doctrine. Woohoo! What a thing, what a thing, what a thing. Have a look at this. Governments descend to the level of a mere private corporation and take on the characteristics of a private citizen. Now, this Clearfield Doctrine was put together, it was found out in 1947 in the United States, and it's US Supreme Court ruling here. Because Australia is now registered as a US corporation, the laws of the US pertain to that corporation. The law of every country and every state that is registered in the US, Clearfield Doctrine applies. Where a private corporate commercial paper, Federal Reserve notes, and here in Australia we've got the same sort of stuff, they just call it different things, and securities, being checks, are concerned, for purposes of suit, Such corporations and individuals are regarded as entities entirely separate from government. What the Clearfield Doctrine is saying is that when private commercial paper is used by corporate government, so the government doesn't own the money. We know that. The Australian Reserve owns the money. The government doesn't own it, right? Then the government loses its sovereignty status and becomes no different than a mere private corporation. As such, government then becomes bound by the rules and the laws of governing private corporations, which means that if intended to compel an individual to some specific specific performance based upon its corporate statutes or corporation rules, then the government, like any private corporation, must be the holder in due course of a contract or other commercial agreement between it and the one upon whom the demands for specific performance are made. You must wear a mask, you must sign in, you must do this, you can't go here, don't cross the border, don't go here, don't go there, line up for here, get your frank and jab over here. No, 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 no. Consent. Now, if you choose to go and do it, it is taken that you've given consent. But if you refuse, you cannot. They cannot hold you accountable, fine you, do anything. And that's the same for any business. If the businesses don't want to put up their QR code, remember, we're talking about companies here, not governments. They've given up. They've given up their right of government, right? So, and further, the government must be willing to enter that contract or commercial agreement into evidence before trying to get the court to enforce its demands, called statute. Clearfield Doctrine. Look it up. I know it's based in the US, but the government registered their own corporation in the US, which comes under the US law. All right. So now down here, let me get down here a little bit. Where it goes, I will start at the top. The state does not appear as a word in the Holy Bible, because you see, the Bible is based, all the laws, all the state laws and everything, all the Commonwealth laws are based out of the King James Bible. However, the word state comes from the Greek root word stato, which means to stand. A state is something that stands stationary, fixed or established. Establishment exists only in the common thoughts created and sustained by the minds of man. It is a legal fiction, or a fiction at law. A state is a corporate fiction existing purely in thought. Corporations and similar creations are all fictions made up in men's minds. Mere imagination, fictional, meaning neither natural nor existing of themselves. They are lies. They exist by the mutual agreement of the thoughts of men. Likewise, a state exists only in the minds of men. It is not the real estate, right? That being the physical ground and the real people located thereupon. The state cannot be seen, talked to, harmed, injured, damaged, touched, made love to, moved to tears, or write you a letter. It has all the emotions of today's computers, or a premier or a prime minister. They've all got no emotions. They're all just muppets. It is a political creation designed to protect and or control certain objects. You. All right, so this just goes through what we'd already covered on the first page, so we'll jump through that. Governments have descended to the level of a mere private corporation and taken on the characteristics of a mere private citizen. Once this has been done, it can never return to being a sovereign government. They're done. It's contract. If somebody in the government wants you to do something, tell them you need the contract. Well, just do it. No, I need the contract. Just do it. No, I need the contract. If I don't have a contract, nothing's happening here. No contract. right? Because they set the rules. They put it in motion in 1977, or before then, but in 1977, they took the letters patent out of action and they became corporations. In every other country, they would have done something similar. But if your state, if your nation is listed in the US as a corporation, this applies. This applies. Look, this is the law of creation. God created it. I'm not going to preach to you. You can believe whatever you like. I don't give two hoots, right? It's your life. Do what you like. But the law of creation says God created everything. And then he created man. Now, the created cannot be greater than that which created it. Man cannot be greater than God. Simple. Right? And God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the natural world. This is stated by Almighty God. We are to have dominion over the world, over our own lives, right? Man is a sentient being. Now, you've got to understand this. This is really, really, really important. You are a sentient being. See, a corporation is a dead thing. It's lifeless. It has no form. It has no emotion. It has no heartbeat. It has no spirit. It is a dead thing. The government is a dead thing. The corporations are dead things. You cannot communicate to a dead thing, right? Now, we're a sentient being. We have a spirit. We have a heart that pumps blood. We have a conscience. We can feel emotions. We are alive, not a dead thing. We have dominion over all the earth. Now, the created cannot be greater than that which created it. So man decided he wanted to create governments to be their servants, to administer some of the menial things of life. The government cannot be greater than man. Now, are you the man or the entity? Because governments created corporations and entities. They turned you into an entity. You get to choose whether you live down here and go, yes, master, no, master, whatever you say, master. Or are you the man up here, woman, man, that says, hey, you, government, behave yourself? You see, in our Constitution, it says that the people have the absolute, total, and uncontrollable authority remains with the people. You see, every interaction with every aspect of what is called government must be consensual contract, demanded to be in writing, not a verbal consent or a verbal rejection. Put it in writing. It must go in writing. And I know it's going to be a pain in the bum, but I'll get sick of it pretty quick. No contract means no consent. No consent means they have no authority. Clearfield Doctrine. It all comes down to corporate law. So I put together a little piece of paper for myself and anybody else who wants to share it. I'm happy to share it with you. This is a self-determining status as a sentient being. So somebody wants you to, do something and you decide, well, hang on, you want me to pull over or you want me to stop and talk to you on the street or whatever. So whatever uniform they're wearing, whatever they want you to do, you can hand them a piece of paper and you can say, you who have accosted the holder of this declaration must now read it as your protection. The reader has understood and agreed to the terms herein. The holder of this document is a sentient being, thus is alive. Therefore, I can feel, perceive, sense things. I have an awareness of my surroundings. I have sensations, thoughts, and the ability to show responsiveness. Having sense makes me sentient or able to smell, communicate, touch, see, hear. All sentient beings have an awareness of themselves, a conscience. They can feel happiness, sadness, pain, and fear. Therefore, not a legal fictitious entity lost at sea, unclaimed. And therefore, as stated in Genesis 1:26-28, King James Version, God said, let us make man in our own image, in our own likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the fowl of the air and over the cattle and over all of the earth and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So they're explaining that every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. They're talking about the Gates and the Faucis. They're talking about the politicians. They're talking about the sick scientists, these that creepeth upon the earth. That's my interpretation. Anyway, therefore I am supreme authority, having sovereignty, dominion over the natural world, as stated by Almighty God, not by some muppet politician. And the holder of this document is exercising their inalienable, unchangeable, God-given right to have dominion over every aspect of their life and over all aspects of the earth, wherever life would take them in peace. Therefore, withdraws all previous forms of consent to all and every level of corporate government in the land mass called Australia, and you can alter that to wherever you live, and to its 12-mile limit at sea. This sentient being has the right to protect themselves with equal and opposite force that is being put upon them, and will do so. And let me just shift this out of the road so I can read it. Therefore, all statutes, mandates, acts, rules, bylaws that come from the mind of sinful, wicked men and women operating from an incorporate entities called governments that are lifeless, soulless, without spirit, and have no actual authority over the great creator of all the universe and those who are sentient beings in his likeness and spirit. And this sentient being withdraws any and all known undisclosed contracts, including deceitful adhesional contracts. Your license is an adhesional contract. Your birth certificate is an adhesional contract. With any entity that would restrict freedom of movement, freedom of labor, freedom of speech, and freedom of medical/health choice now and into the untold future. And the global chemical industrial complex corporations who are making toxins and DNA altering operating systems as medicines, including their agents, acting as government, doctors, chemists, police, and media, have no authority and can place no restrictions over the holder of this document in relation to any aspect of health. Therefore, I, and that is a lowercase I on purpose, I am not bound, right, bonded, shackled, attached to, or under the control of any man-made entity. And the maxim in Bovier's Law Dictionary, 1856, established the principle of proposition, a principle of law universally admitted as being just and constant with reason. So these are maxims at law. Maxim at law. No one is obliged to accept a benefit against his consent. Consent makes the law. A contract is a law between the parties which can acquire force only by consent. He who mistakes is not considered consenting. Every consent involves a submission, but mere submission does not necessarily involve consent. And this is where the cops are. They're trying to beat you into submission. The government's trying to put you into submission through fear, right? The essence of a contract is being assent thereto, and there is no contract where assent is wanting. Crime and punishment. The instigator of a crime is worse than he who perpetrates it. Our senior medical officials are the instigators of the crime. The doctors are the creators, followers up. So the health ministers, the health officials are the instigators of this crime, under the auspice of our Governor General, under the auspice of your president, under the auspice of the premiers of each state. They are worse. They who consent to an act and they who do it shall be visited with equal punishment. Therefore, no living man or woman is obliged to obey evil. Police officers, do you hear this? Public servants, do you hear this? No living man or woman is obliged to obey evil. No corporation has any authority to create laws over living men and women. That is a maxim at law. meaning it's not going to go away. The corporation called government, the corporation called state, the corporation called police, the corporation called courts, they have no authority to create laws or to enforce laws over living men and women. The Clearfield Doctrine applies. Any chemical or poison that may react badly in an organic sentient being must be taken only by informed consent, free will, without threat or penalty. All those who are upon the earth have the right to life, joy, peace, and happiness of their own choosing. The holder of this document now informs the reader of this document that as a sentient being with a conscience and full capacity of mind, that God's holy law exists in Australia. Magna Carta is still law in Australia, and Australia Australia is an agreeing party to the Nuremberg Code. Therefore, any breach of freedoms that is performed upon this being will automatically be the reader's agreement that they have committed a heinous crime against the holder of this document, against their will, which will be undefendable by the reader. So they've given up their right of defense. Schedule of fees. For any incorporated entity claiming to be government or agency of government, state or federal, a fee for being held up whilst travelling, 50,000 Australian dollars, or you can put it in your own currency, per hour or part thereof. A fee for separation from family or companions without our consent, house lockdown or any of that rubbish. $100,000 Australian per 24 hours and part thereof. Appearance in any supposed court, $500,000 a day. This declaration of dominion over self will stand for all time. And so, Clearfield Doctrine basically states the governments have given up their government status. They are corporations. So how do we do this? Look up Clearfield Doctrine. It's easy to find. Copy the important parts out of it and demand, send it or take it to your politician's office. Don't send the damn paper in by mail. Look, they just chuck it all in the bin, right? And demand that they prove that they are a legitimate politician under the 1900 letters patent. If they are not, sack them right there and on the spot. You are sacked. And you say, Tim, we haven't got time for this. We're busy. Are you too busy? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you were too busy to protect your freedoms. I didn't know you were too busy to look after your children and your children's children. It's time, people. It's time to walk into their offices. There's a Freedom Day coming up on Saturday globally. It's great. But guess what? The politicians don't work on Saturdays. And having it in parks, oh, that's wonderful. No. Have it on Wednesday. Everybody pull a sickie and walk straight into Parliament House. Walk into your state parliament. They're all there. Let them know you've had a guts full. Here in South Australia now, the cops are going around making sure everybody does their QR testing. Stephen Marshall, what sort of idiot are you? You have stepped aside. You've resigned out of the COVID part of this operation. What's that, to protect your own bum? And you've left the Commissioner of Police to create laws, unelected, without Parliament, that breach everything. The police commissioner creates an edict. He does not have the authority to create an edict in any state, I don't think. An edict must be done by the king, the queen, or the prime minister. They have the right to create an edict, not the bloody cop. You got to understand, he was one of the kids at school that got bullied and thought he'd get his own back. Ladies and gentlemen, Clearfield Doctrine. I don't know who's watched this to the end, but God, I hope a lot of you did. My name's Tim Dwyer. I'll speak to you later on. You guys have a great day, have a great week, and let's keep this going. We will fight, and we will fight until there's none of us left. The only way that we're going to lose is if we quit. We can't quit. See you soon.